Hi, today I gonna show you how to replace brake pads and overhaul brake caliper on Opel Astra J 2010 year. Let's start by lifting the car and removing the wheel. Loosen the bolts first. Before lifting, put wheel chocks around cross opposite wheel to avoid accidental car move. Apply your hand brake. Lift the car by any jack you have. For safety, use hoist support. Remove brake fluid line from support bracket.
Remove brake caliper by removing 2 bolts. You can turn your steering wheel to get better access.
Use screwdriver to push a bit the brake caliper piston for easier removal of brake caliper. Use any kind of hook to support your brake caliper on your shock strut spring. Avoid stretching and damaging brake fluid line. Remove old brake pads. Move them by sides from caliper support. You can use a screwdriver for removal. This caliper has a spring clips for brake pads. Remove them using a screwdriver. Remove brake caliper guides. Remove brake caliper support bracket by removing 2 bolts. Clean the part using any kind of metal brush. Measure the thickness of brake disc. According maintenance manual, minimum allowed thickness is 23 mm. I decided to leave old brake disc and replace it on next brake pads replacement event. Measure disc thickness in multiple locations. If you remove the brake disc, clean all contact surfaces very well to avoid vibrations while driving. You can apply a thin layer of copper grease on contact surfaces between axle and brake disc. This will help easier removal of brake disc in future. Do not apply too much grease, this will cause vibrations. Now let's start with brake caliper. Easy way to remove brake caliper piston is by pressing the brake pedal. The brake caliper piston will go out. When it becomes free, remove it by hand. Before removal of caliper piston, squeeze brake line rubber pipe with vice grip pliers to avoid drain out all brake system. Put a piece of paper or rag between pliers and pipe to avoid damage to the brake line. This type of piston is made from non-metal material. Usually these pistons get corroded and they need to be replaced. Clean the piston and check for signs of damage or wear. Remove caliper piston dust seal. You can use a small screwdriver. Lift the edge between seal and caliper. Clean the caliper edge precisely to get good sealing when install the seal back. Clean all debris from inside of caliper. Remove and replace the caliper piston pressure seal which is inside the caliper. This time seal came out by itself during cleaning. For removal you can use a small pick or screwdriver. But be careful not to make any scratches on matting surfaces. This can cause a leak in future. Remove dust cap from bleeding valve. Remove and clean bleeding valve. Install bleeding valve but leave it loose to let the air came out during installation of caliper piston. Install brake piston pressure seal. Lube the seal with special lubricant used with contact with brake fluid. Lube piston with same lubricant which was used on piston seal. Install dust seal gasket on piston. Make sure the seal gets in the groove on piston. Install piston in caliper. Push until it touches back of inside of caliper. Make sure your bleed valve is open. At this point you can use the special tools for piston squeezing inside. But if it is lubed it should be enough hand force to do it. Also using only hand pressure you will be sure that pressure gasket inside the caliper will not be kinked or squeezed or get out from groove. I used a wrench to align the piston for better seating inside during installation. That lets it easier go through pressure seal. Now you need to put the dust gasket in place. For this you can use a small screwdriver. Start where it is hardest to get, from sides of caliper. At very last place use fingers pressure to put onto the gasket. Be careful not to damage it. Clean the bleeding valve and its installation orifice, make sure there is no obstructions inside. Lube threads of piston plug and install it. Tight it for this moment to avoid brake fluid leak while assembling brake caliper. We will need to lose this plug during bleeding of the brakes. Now you can remove vice grip pliers. Assemble the brake caliper bracket. You can use thread locker glue on the bolts. Clean the caliper guides and lube with special lubricant. Also clean the caliper bracket orifices where guides are installed. This is important point because in most cases stuck guides do not let the caliper go back after brake pedal is pushed. This causes excessive wear on brake pads and brake discs. If you see one side of brake pad deteriorated more than on other one, this is the main indicator that you have stuck brake caliper guides. So clean and lube well this parts. While cleaning the guides, avoid to damage surface. If it is not possible to clean them, replace them by new ones. Use copper grease on brake pad and bracket contact area. These brake calipers have brake pad stainless steel guide clips. On other calipers, brake pads go straight on bracket. Install new brake pads. Pay attention not to mix sides of brake pads. Usually caliper bracket is made so there is no way to install brake pad in wrong side. This time one of the brake pads have metal spring, which is indicator about worn pads. When brake pad goes thin enough, the plate starts to touch the brake disc and make scratching noise. This means that it is time to replace brake pads. On this model, this brake pad goes on inboard side. Install brake caliper. Install brake caliper guide bolts. In this case I tightened guide bolts with one wrench. In other cases on caliper guide there are places to put on a wrench and lock the guides from rotating while torque the guide bolts. Install brake line in bracket. Now bleed the brakes. Usually while bleeding the brakes there is needed two persons. One person pushes brakes until brake fluid comes out from the valve free of air bubbles. The other person who is working on the bleeding valve closes the valve while brake pedal is pushed. This avoids the air to go back into the system. Second option is when you're working alone and you need to bleed your brakes. Use drain pipe with diameter that fits tightly on your bleed plug. Put other end of the pipe into bottle or any other drip tray to collect the fluid. Open bleed valve and push the brake pedal few times until brake fluid becomes free of air bubbles. Make sure that drain pipe reaches the bottom of the bottle and is immersed into brake fluid. The point of this method is that, when you release brake pedal, the air cannot get into the system while drain pipe is immersed into the brake fluid. This method needs more brake fluid to drain, but you can perform it by yourself. Install the wheel and dejack the car. Refill the brake fluid. Thanks for watching. Hope this tutorial will be useful. Check description for more info about tools and greases used.